When I was a kid, I grew up with 5 brothers and 1 sister. Now, we often play this game. Now, I'm not going to give you the name of the game just yet. I'll give you the gesture first, so you can get an idea of how we started to play it. All right, are y'all ready? Don't judge me. I just explained to you that I was a kid. Okay. The game was called Meow. The game was called Big Cats. And the point of the game was to vividly pretend like we were wild African safari cats. We would mark our territory. We would hunt for and devour our prey. We were just wild kids. You see that kid there? That kid is me. Now let me tell you what happened to him. He was sexually abused from the time he was about 5 years old until he was 10. And physical abuse followed for years after. Going through something like that takes a piece of you that I don't believe that you can ever get back. I was poisoned. There was guilt, shame, this constant feeling of being dirty that I just couldn't shake. It ripped a hole so wide in me that I would have never been able to mend that on my own. My childhood was marred by emotionally broken people that never learned to forgive. We were often homeless, and one summer, we lived in a house with 7 other kids, 2 other adults, with no running water, electricity, or gas utilities in the home. When I was about 14, we lived in our station wagon and had a game to play that day. And I just really didn't have the heart to tell my mom that I was hungry. Playing a whole game off of top ramen and hot dogs I'd eaten the night before. We were often homeless. And I used to do things to kind of soothe that pain that I experienced in my life. I did cruel things like burning maggots and giving the neighborhood cat vodka. And honestly, I think I did it to maintain this sense of power in me. My childhood was broken. If I could sum up my childhood, I was a child taught to perform like an adult. I understood consequence, but I didn't understand consent. And when my boundaries were crossed, I didn't realize I was allowed to say no. And just when you thought, man, that kid's life was pretty messed up, that was only a part of it. I come from 4 generations of absent fathers on both sides of my family. Growing up without my father left me broken and angry, confused. I didn't trust people. I held on to this idea that if I remembered who did it, how they did it, and why they did it, that I could stop it from ever happening to me again. And when you reach a place like that, you start searching for something, anything that can give you hope. That for me came when I was about 17 years old. And I called Dorothy Algertha Ling for the first time. She was my grandmother. The very first thing she ever said to me was, as I always wondered when you'd call, but I always knew you would. You see, even though I didn't grow up with my grandmother, she knew me more than I knew myself. Everything I do around forgiveness is dedicated to her. Because without her, I wouldn't be standing here in front of you today. Before she died, we had a family reunion in Maryland. And she got sick and had to go to the hospital. And it seemed like my whole family was there, going in and out of her room, talking with her, checking on her, and I kind of just stood way far off in the distance because I was still in shock about all this family that I'm seeing and meeting for the first time. There was a small little break in the action, and I walked up to the door frame of her room. I stood there looking at her, and in the sweetest, most perfect Southern black grandma voice, she said, "What's wrong, baby?" As I stood there in that door, I looked back at her and I just said, Grandma, nothing. I just came to check on you. And of course, her knowing me better than I know myself, me telling her that I was okay, it just wasn't enough for her. She told me to come into the room and sit with her, and I sat and I talked with my grandma for what seemed like 2 whole days. It was only just a couple of minutes. She started to explain to me about how she had experienced her own emotional pain. She had walked through her own process of forgiveness. You see, my grandfather had multiple women outside of their marriage. And man, that hurt her deeply. She would say almost to the point where she found herself operating outside of who she was as a person. My grandmother was hurt in those moments, but she chose to forgive. She didn't just tell me what forgiveness was, she showed me in real time what it looked like. She told me that every day that she wakes up, she had to learn to forgive my grandfather. Man, that was a brand new concept for me. Dorothy Ling was an amazing person, that she still saw the good in people, even people that hurt her. So from then on, I decided that I'm going to start my own forgiveness journey. Now, I want to pose a question to you. And I want you to really take a second and consider your answer. Y'all ready? Who is the hardest person that you have ever had to forgive? Sit with that a second. Who is the hardest person that you've ever had to forgive? Now, I wanted to talk about forgiveness today because I think it's something that we all deal with, but few of us actually understand. So let me start by giving you a definition that grounded my own healing. Forgiveness is the intentional decision to release resentment, anger, and bitterness from a person or a situation. But here's the thing. Even when the apology never comes. And because I played mental ping pong with this idea of forgiveness, let me tell you what it's not. Forgiveness is not for the other person. It's a decision for your own freedom. Forgiveness is not letting someone else off the hook. It's deciding to not stay chained to what they did to you. Forgiveness is not some illusion. Forgiveness doesn't rewrite the story. Forgiveness is not denial. Forgiveness doesn't pretend like it didn't hurt. It hurt. It mattered. It left a mark. Now, I want to share something with you today. Something that I had to walk through every day of my life. It's an honest truth. Some of us wake up every morning and we put on a fence the same way we put on clothes. You grab the shirt of insecurity because they should have valued me more when they hurt me. Or you grab the jacket of resentment because you should have been there for me when my wife left me. Or how about the pants of what happened 10 years ago? Because 10 years is just not enough time to forgive that kind of pain. And we walk out of the house layered in all these feelings and emotions that were never supposed to be something we carried long term. They were only supposed to be warning signs. I sat with this idea: never forgive, never let go, never be a victim again. I was broken beyond repair because I just couldn't understand how you could let them do that to me. They stole my innocence from me. I was just a child. So what changed for me? There was no big breakthrough, no emotional explosion. It was simply just a choice. And it was a choice that I chose every day. Now let me share this statement with you. Forgiveness is a journey. And I implore you to start that journey. And not by pretending something didn't hurt. And not by letting somebody else off the hook. Not by acting like everything is okay. But by really starting where you are. Start with one choice, one step, one release. And you know what? I know this is really heavy, but I want to say something to you today. If you take anything from this talk today, take this. You are okay right where you're at. Don't try to rush what took years to build. Meet yourself exactly where you are right now. Not where you think you should be. Don't try to rush this process to forgive. Just start where you are. One step, one choice, one release. Move into your future with power. I started by releasing the negative thoughts out of my mind and speaking positive thoughts over myself. I knew that I had to walk forward. I couldn't stay stuck in the past. Because forgiveness is a journey. When I was 28 years old, I had that conversation with my grandmother. And today, I am 42 years old, and I stand before you to let you know that I'm not done, but I am free. When I was 36, I woke up in the morning and I was just thinking about all the people that had hurt me, all the things that were said and done. And I realized in that time that I was the one holding on to the pain. I stayed stuck in that moment. They moved on with their life, and I stayed stuck in mine. I needed to learn to let go. I saw Dorothy do it, so I did it too. So here's my hope for you today, that you would start your own forgiveness journey, that you would take the steps to move into your future, into your freedom. Start that journey today. Grab a hold of your life and say, I refuse to allow this pain to run my life anymore. One step, one choice, one release. Because the journey doesn't start when you're ready. No, the journey starts when you're willing. Thank you.